Hello, welcome all of you to my channel Source Tutorial. Um, Today I will discuss about something from psychology subject. So today I will discuss the introducing of psychology. What is psychology and why we all have to study psychology? What's the importance of psychology in nursing students, in medical students? Okay, so we all have to know about psychology. So starting the psychology, first we all have to know about the psychology introduction, psychology's definition, psychology's importance, and psychology's scope, psychology's branches. There are so many things we all have to know about the psychology. Okay, so what is psychology? Psychology means body mind relationships. What's the relationship between body and mind? That's called psychology. Okay, so if we introducing with the word psychology, then we get two words, psyche and logos. Here, the psyche and logos are two Greek words. Okay, Radolf Ziokel used the word psychology first, and this psychology word is derived from these two Greek words, psyche and logos. These two words have different meanings. Here's psyche means soul or spirit, and logos means knowledge or study. Okay, so if we define the word psychology, then the definition is defining psychology as the scientific study of behavior including mind and other internal processes. Okay, again I repeat, including mind and in other internal processes is defining psychology. Okay, so psychology means normally body mind relationship. So what is psychology? Okay, psychology means it can be defined as the investigations of human and animal behavior. Okay, what? Human and animal behavior. Okay, so if we see the definitions of psychology, then it said that psychology can be defined as the investigations of human and animal behavior and of the mental psychological processes associated with the behavior. Okay, so from psychology we can know about the emotion, about the motivations, about the frustrations, about the depressions. We all know. Okay, so there are so many scope in psychology, so many branches in psychology, and so many importance of studying psychology in nursing and also the medical students. So now I will say the scope of psychology. What is the scope of psychology? Okay, the scope of psychology means can usually be discussed under two heads. Number one is the limit of its operations and applications, and the second one is the branches and the subjects matters it deal with. These two are the scope of a subject can be discussed under two heads of psychology. Okay, the scope of a subject can usually be discussed under two heads. Number one is limit of its operations and applications, and branches and the subjects matters it deals with. So its two are the scopes of psychology. So now I will say about the branches of psychology. There are so many branches in psychology. Such as there are mainly 7 branches of psychology, such as clinical psychology, counseling psychology, social psychology, experimental psychology, developmental psychology, abnormal psychology, and also the last one is community psychology. So there are 7 branches of psychology. Okay, so now I will say about the clinical psychology. What is clinical psychology? Okay, clinical psychology is also a branch of psychology. It is the largest subfield of psychology, which part of psychology? Which branches of psychology is the largest subfield of psychology? Clinical psychology is the largest subfield of psychology. Okay. In this field, it is the study of techniques which are employed in the diagnosis and treatment of mentally and emotionally abnormal people. Okay. In clinical psychology, it is the study of techniques which are employed in the diagnosis and treatment of mentally and emotionally abnormal people. Okay. The second branch is counseling psychology. What is counseling psychology? Counseling psychology means it is also similar to clinical psychology. Okay, counseling psychology is also similar to clinical psychology. How? Because it deals with people relatively. Okay, clinical psychology always deals with people relatively mild personal and emotional problems. Okay, in counseling psychology, it deals with people relatively mild personal and emotional problem. Okay, so first one is clinical psychology and the second one is counseling psychology. The counseling psychology almost similar to clinical psychology. Okay. So now I will say the third branch of psychology is social psychology. Social psychology, what is social psychology, is also a branch of psychology. It deals with the behavior of an individual. It is influenced by others. Social psychology is influenced by others and how it influences others' behavior. Okay, so social psychology deals with the behavior of an individuals as it's influenced by others and how and its individuals influences others' behavior. Okay. So the fourth branches is experimental psychology. Experimental psychology is also the branches of psychology, is also under the branches of psychology. Okay, so here's experimental psychology involves basic research. Basic research into the fundamental causes of human behavior and also the psychological behavior. And psychology concerns the structure and function of sense organs, nervous systems, muscles and glands underline all behaviors. So in experimental psychology, it involves basic research into the fundamental causes of human behavior such as structure and function of sense organs, nervous systems, muscles and glands underline all behaviors. Okay, so here's the number one is clinical psychology, the second one is counseling psychology, and the third one is social psychology, and the fourth one is experimental psychology. And here's the fifth number of branches of psychology, developmental psychology. Okay, developmental psychology is also a part of psychology, is also the branch of psychology. Okay, in developmental psychology, it studies the behavior as it develops from birth through childhood, adolescence, and maturity to old age. Okay, so by developmental psychology, we can study the behavior as it develops from birth through childhood, adolescence, and maturity to old age. Okay. It also studies the factor that influence the growth or development of human behavior. Okay, so what is developmental psychology? Developmental psychology studies the behavior as its developments from birth through childhood, adolescence and maturity to old age, and also the factors that influence the growth or development of human behavior. Okay, so the sixth number of branch of psychology is abnormal psychology. Abnormal psychology, what is abnormal psychology? In abnormal psychology, it studies mental disorders. Okay, mental disorders and their causes and treatment. Abnormal psychology actually basically studies mental disorders, their causes and treatment. Okay, so what is abnormal psychology? Abnormal psychology means the mental disorders and causes and treatments are studies in abnormal psychology. And the last one is community psychology. In community psychology, it is a broad field. Okay, community psychology is a broad field where social problems and community livings are studied in the light of principles of general psychology. So, by the lights of principles of general psychologies in community psychologies, we all know about the social problems, community living problems, etc., etc. So, what is community psychology? Community psychology is a broad field where social problems and community living are studied in the light of the principles of general psychology. Okay. So this is the seven branches of psychology. Okay, the first one clinical psychology, the second one counseling psychology, the third one social psychology, the fourth one experimental psychology, the fifth one developmental psychology, the sixth one abnormal psychology, and the last one is community psychology. Okay. So, in psychology, there are so many importance. So now I will say about the importance of psychology in nurse. Okay. So the first importance is it will help a nurse. First, psychology helps a nurse to understand herself and also will get an insight into her motives, desires, emotions, and ambitions. Okay, so psychology will help a nurse to understand herself. She will get an insight into her motives, desires, emotions, and ambitions, and also help her to understand other people, leading to personal and professional adjustment, and also help to improve situations by helping others solve their problems. Illness and physical handicaps offering bring about the need for major adjustment, and also a trained nurse can be health educator and also can help this kind of adjustment. Okay, so it all will help a nurse to understand herself and understand others people, to understand other people, to improve the situations, to motives the depressed patients. Okay, so an understanding of psychology can be of great help to a nurse to be a good health teacher also. Okay, so what an understanding of psychology can also be of great help to a nurse to become a good health teacher. Okay, so she will understand the close relationship of body, mind, and relationship. So importance of psychology is in nurse. There's too many importance and that's always help a nurse to understand herself, understands other people, to improve the situation, to motivate the depressed patient. Okay, so here you can see that if a patient admission to the ward, she does not know what do's and don'ts to in the ward. Okay, so the patient is anxious about what will happen to him. Then the nurse must introduce herself as the nurse concerned with his fear. The nurse help may be needed during visiting time to ensure privacy. Okay, so a nurse also help the patients by giving mentally support. Okay, because the patient does not know what will happen after starting the operations. Okay, so a nurse always can motives a patient and can also give mentally support to a patient. So it will learn the nurse should learn about this all from psychology. Okay, so why the psychology is too much important for studying in nurse. Okay, so it's the importance of psychology in nurse. So it's the all about introducing of psychology. Okay, if you have any comment and have any questions, then comment me on comment box. I will give answers. Okay, thank you for joining.